The rain had turned to steam on the Georgia asphalt as Malik Carter stepped from the courthouse steps, the collar of his navy suit damp with sweat and summer mist. His jaw clenched tight. Cameras flickered. Microphones jutted toward him like weapons. The crowd swelled with murmurs. Somewhere in the chaos, a voice pierced through the humid air like a blade. "Mr. Carter, care to respond to Stacey Abrams calling you unfit for public office?" The word unfit echoed louder than the rest, as if spat directly at his chest. He paused, his eyes scanning the crowd's still grey eyes, tired but unyielding. The silence that followed was deafening. "But before we get to the moment," he answered before the world paused. Breath held for his reply. "You need to understand how Malik Carter became the man standing on those courthouse steps, and why Stacey." Abrams' words struck more than just a political nerve. Malik grew up in the heart of Atlanta, in a neighborhood with cracked sidewalks and bullet holes in the stop signs. His mother, Lena, was a school janitor by day, a home care nurse by night, and a preacher on Sundays. His father had walked out when Malik was 6, left behind a busted Buick, a shattered stereo, and a promise he never kept. Malik learned early that survival wasn't about strength, it was about purpose. He didn't have much, but he had a sharp mind, a sharper tongue, and a deep conviction that the system wasn't broken. It was designed this way. He watched his friends get funneled through juvie while he fought to stay in school. He watched his mother age twice as fast, working 3 jobs to keep the lights on. And he swore he'd never be another politician making promises from behind bulletproof glass. At 16, he started community cleanups and mentorship programs. At 19, he ran a food bank out of a condemned church. At 26, he became the youngest city councilman in Atlanta history. He didn't rise because he kissed the right rings, he rose because people felt him. He spoke like them, he lived like them, he bled with them. But the establishment hated him for that, because Malik Carter didn't owe anyone, and he sure as hell wasn't afraid to speak truth to power. Enter Stacey Abrams, a titan in Georgia politics, a woman who had marched, fought, and campaigned her way into the national spotlight. She was respected, revered, but lately, she was worried, because Malik had announced his run for governor. It was never supposed to be a real race. The party had already crowned their favorite, but when Malik started pulling numbers, real numbers, especially in rural towns and forgotten urban pockets, that's when the gloves came off. In a nationally televised interview, Abrams leaned forward with the cold precision of someone who knew the weight her words carried. "Malik Carter is passionate." "Yes," she said. "But passion without preparation is a recipe for disaster. He is, frankly, unfit for the office of governor." Those words hit Malik harder than he expected. Not because he respected her, he did, not because it hurt his campaign, it actually helped, but because Stacey Abrams, a woman who had once inspired him, now tried to reduce him to a hashtag. At the same time, Malik was battling a quieter storm, one far more personal. His younger brother, Elijah, had been arrested on gun charges. The media hadn't gotten wind of it yet, but the political vultures were circling. Malik sat by Elijah's jail cell every night after rallies, staring at the boy who used to draw superheroes on napkins. Elijah had tried to be strong, but in a world that offered so few choices, he chose the streets. Malik blamed himself. His mother told him not to, but guilt doesn't care about reason. There was also Maya, his campaign manager, and his ex. They had met during a protest 5 years earlier, locked arms under a barrage of tear gas. She had a fire in her that matched his own, but their ambitions had pulled them in different directions. Now, they were back together, not romantically, but every look, every late-night strategy session, felt like standing at the edge of a cliff, wondering whether to jump. As election season heated up, Malik's team was divided. Some wanted him to fire back at Abrams, call her establishment, say she was out of touch. But Malik refused. "I'm not running against her," he told Maya one night, as they overlooked the skyline from a rooftop near Edgewood. "I'm running for something. That's the difference." But the attacks kept coming. News outlets dug into his finances, questioned his education credentials, even leaked an old audio clip from his youth where he called politics a hustle. They ignored the context. They always did. Then came the debate. The auditorium buzzed with electricity. Abrams had agreed to one debate, a calculated move. She was poised, articulate, and aggressive. Malik stood across from her, calm but firm. When asked about experience, she doubled down. I have spent years crafting policy, building coalitions, and standing on the front lines of change. Malik Carter talks a good game, but Georgia doesn't need slogans. We need leadership. He is unfit. This time, the word cut deep. The room went still. Malik leaned forward. His voice didn't rise. It sank into something deeper. Ms. Abrams, I appreciate your service, but let me tell you what unfit looks like. He turned to the camera, to the people. Unfit is a system where a black woman works 3 jobs and still can't afford insulin for her child. Unfit is a school with metal detectors instead of textbooks. Unfit is watching your baby brother get swallowed by a system that profits off cages. I may not have your polish. I may not have been groomed for this stage, but I've lived every line of the speech you give. He paused, locking eyes with her. So, if fit means bending to the donors, smiling through the lies, and waiting, your turn. I'm proud to be unfit. The auditorium erupted. Even some on Abrams' side leaned back, lips parted in surprise. She went silent. Not because she had no rebuttal, but because, for once, there was nothing to say. After the debate, the momentum shifted. Malik's rallies grew. Elijah, cleared of charges thanks to Malik's quiet legal maneuvering, started speaking to youth groups about staying out of the game. Maya, ... Well, she stayed. Not as a love interest, but as something better, a partner in purpose. Election night came. The race was close. But, win or lose, Malik had changed the conversation. He didn't just break the mold, he exposed it. In the end, he lost by 1.8%. But the story didn't end there. 6 months later, Malik launched the Carter Initiative, a statewide youth leadership program that funneled resources into neglected communities. Elijah was its first regional director. Maya served as policy chief. And Stacey Abrams, she quietly reached out, asked to meet over coffee. There was no apology, just a nod. A subtle acknowledgement that perhaps, just maybe, she'd underestimated him. Years passed. Malik didn't disappear. He grew, and when he ran again, he didn't have to explain himself. The people already knew, because once upon a time, someone called him unfit. And he turned it into a revolution. Moral of the story: sometimes, the world will measure you by standards that were never meant for you. But don't shrink to fit. Stand to redefine. Because your response, when forged in truth, can silence even the loudest critics.